it's going to help, I think, in lieu of using their car, which is what a lot of people seem to have as their ultimate goal, is that we would somehow replace the car with these cargo bikes. But making all these angles match, I end up having to put a lot of slop in there. This is not a performance bike, this is a truck. If I get in my car and I live on a major thoroughfare, just pulling out my driveway means conflict with other drivers, and do it all over again until I eventually make it to the grocery store, which is like 15 blocks from here. In reality, 15 blocks is not very far, but what I just did to go that 15 blocks was a lot of work and a big chore, actually. Stress, and not fun. When I get on my bike, I can cut through the neighborhood and go on the side streets, which I could with my car too, but then that seems like even more work, every intersection, every change of direction. But on the bike, it doesn't seem to be work at all. And then it becomes fun because I'm not competing with road space with a bunch of other vehicles. I can go at my own pace. I'm not being controlled by lights or the pace of everybody around me. I get to see how my neighbors live. Whereas when I'm driving down the street, I'm not concerned about how my neighbors live. I'm concerned about not running into the guy in front of me. It all just comes down to it's a much more relaxing, much more enjoyable way to transport yourself 15 blocks. Up until about 3 years ago, my interest was classic American cars, like especially from the 60s. But the reality is it takes a lot of time, a lot of space, a lot of money that I don't have. And then just out of pure luck, one of my coworkers asked me, because I have some creative mechanical skills, asked me if I could build them one of those Dutch-style Bakfiets, cargo bikes, to take his dogs to the park. And I said, no, I don't think I can. That is too complicated for me. And I rode it around, the test strip, make sure it worked and everything like that, and I thought, wow, this is kick-ass. I need to get one of these. And what I do is I take a measurement off this head tube, and they're all probably in millimeters or I don't know. But anyways, I just use a tape measure, and then I go to the mill yard and find something that's close. And it's probably the fanciest tool I have is an angle finder. Try and line up these angles just so that everything matches as close as they can. If I could build this bike, and I have very little understanding on how a bike goes together, and I have no formal training in building things, other people could too. This is a 5-foot piece of 3/4 inch round that I'm going to weld onto the bottom bracket and then extend it out, and that will become the main framework. So what has been a lot of fun about doing this to me has been meeting all the people who, for whatever reason, this appeals to them. And so by building these bikes, I guess I'm building a whole new group of friends and peer group and community that is a lot of fun. They have a big heavy-duty boom that goes from basically the bottom bracket all the way out. Well, I couldn't figure out in my limited engineering skills how I was going to make that straight. What I did was I said, if you put 2 parallel bars and then have this steering tube runs on either side, for whatever reason, I'm sure there's a mathematical engineering reason, it becomes straight. Yeah. So I bought this bike at a thrift store, so I will end up cutting the front end off, and that will be the front end of your bike. I've actually met a few people who do it locally here, and they're super supportive of what I do, which is awesome. I wouldn't consider myself a competitor to them. That would be like saying that like people who go to junkyards and buy wrecked Toyotas are competitors with Mercedes, you know. So now I have my down tube for the front end of the bike. Obviously the front tire and the back tire should hit the ground at the same time. So what I do, how far off the ground is on the back tire. And then I try and match that measurement out front. So this is a pipe bender that like electricians use to bend conduit. The bike, as it comes from the manufacturer, has some sort of angle here. Why, I don't know, but they must have did it on purpose. Then we move on out, and then the next angle that I'm concerned about is this angle, and I try and match that. Somebody took a photo of one of my earlier bikes, I think like my 5th bike I ever built. Other people commented on it, people who have bicycle building experience and engineering understanding, and said that there was a lot of problems and that this bike would not be rideable based on some of the angles and you know, the way it was built. But it worked, and I rode my daughter to school every day on that bike for almost a year. And so I did put some thought into it, and that's when I went out and bought an angle gauge. These parallel bars that I come up with, tie it all together, make it really strong that way. But if we were to put any weight on it, it would start to bend, flex. And so to counteract that, I take a 1-inch tube and I put it in here like that. So people don't think they can until you show them that they can. You know? When we go to the grocery store with ours, before when we would take my daughter and get up a load of groceries, I came home one day and weighed it, and we were about 85 pounds. And at 85 pounds, I didn't have any concern at all that there was an issue. Yeah, so one of my big dreams about this thing is that there would be like somebody in Connecticut and selling them to people on the East Coast, and somebody in LA doing this. That would be awesome. Growing up in eastern Montana, if you were driving on the road, somebody was pulled over with the hood of their car open, then you stopped. You know? 'Cause I don't know why. You just did. That's what you do. But now that you live in the city, you don't. And I think a lot of it has to do with we're too busy, but also maybe I don't have to. Maybe the next guy will. I don't know. But you definitely don't see it. And I know I don't do it. I would probably still be out on the road if I stopped for everybody right around here that was broke down. So then you put your handlebars in there. My very first bike that I ever shipped out of state went to Brooklyn, New York. So I talked to one of the airlines to see if they would let me ship it as like a tandem bike, and then I flew out with it to help the guy assemble it because there are no instructions. Well, the guy picked me up at the airport. We got the bike at the oversized luggage and went to his house or his apartment, and we put the bike together and rode it around. He was very happy with it. So he said, well, we should go out and eat, before you have to fly back. So we're out to eat, and the guy says to me, after some, lull in the conversation, he says, well, Tom, I'm sure glad you didn't turn out to be a weirdo. I was like, yeah, I actually thought the same thing. I know who this guy is. I'm going to fly across the country, and he owes me money, and I'm bringing the bike, and if he decides for whatever reason he doesn't want it or doesn't like it or the price is too high, what am I going to do? We ended up spending the day together. We went down to Manhattan. We went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is a great museum. And a lot of fun. After spending a day with him and his girlfriend, he was a very nice guy, and he appeared to like me too and offered that if I was ever in New York, I could stay with him, you know? So there might be a mathematical formula in figuring out how long this thing should be, but I just do this until I figure until it turns to the point where I'm satisfied. The gal in Minnesota, when I went out to go visit her, emailed me and told me that she would, you know, staying at her house would be is an offer. And I said, you know, that's really nice, but it's not necessary at all. She said, no, it's really cool. She would like to do it and stuff like that. You know, her girlfriend was concerned because I might be an axe murderer. But other than that, so I told her that, you know, ever since 9/11, they don't let me take my axe anymore.
How's the ride?
Well, it's really tall. But it was a lot of fun. We got there, she had a fire in the backyard and some beers, and we sat around and BS'd, and she rode her bike around the neighborhood a little bit, and then the next morning she got up and went to work. And Ruby and I took the bike and we explored Rochester on the bike, and then we took it back, put it in her garage, and drove back to the airport. Yeah, I guess I sort of feel like they're my friend now, even though we came together strictly, you know, as a business transaction, sort of. I guess the product itself maybe invites that. Yeah, and they tend to be, for whatever reason, very likable people. I guess if I ran the Toyota dealership down the street, I probably wouldn't say that about all my clients, right? Man, we may be onto something here, man. When I was a kid, I always thought owning a junkyard would be cool. Now I do. All this random pieces in my backyard. I don't even know how many bikes I have in my backyard.
Daddy, you're in the spotlight now.
Everyone is different. Every bike is different. Kind of fun.
Even one that's really easy, it still is different.
So right now I'm retrofitting this thing to fit the brakes that came off your original fork. So what I've done is I'll take like a little piece of tube like this, and I'll drill out a hole on one side big enough for the cable to go through, and a hole on the other side for the housing to fit into. So the cable just passes through like that, and weld them along the frame. And that is my very caveman raise-on cable housings you'll see on the other bikes. Sold a bike to a guy out in Northampton, Massachusetts. He put an electric motor, hub motor on the back, and then he took off the front wheel and put a ski on the front and rides it around in the snow.
It can also be like handles, but you might have to put some rubber on there.
I see. So the kickstand, just through experimenting and going to bike shops and staring at other kickstands, I came up with the design that I have. So the kickstand is basically just a hinge, and then at some point it's got to stop rotating, or it's not a kickstand. Theory, when you push it forward like a motorcycle or something, there you go, automatic. The reality of it is that it's not a professionally made bike.
They start from different sets. and dream.